Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Tina Tocasio, and I am one of the brokers at HIAIS Insurance. I'll be presenting today's webinar on domestic building insurance, which is just one of the services that we provide. At HIAIS Insurance, we do have a specialised team that will help and support you with all your DBI warranty information and requirements. Just before we start the presentation, I would just want to say a quick disclaimer that the information being provided today is general advice, so that if you're wanting to obtain tailored information about your business, please feel free to contact our office so we can have a more personalised discussion about your specialised needs and situation. So who is HIAIS Insurance? HIAIS Insurance Services is a joint venture between the Housing Industry Association, HIA, the largest national industry association representing the residential construction industry in Australia, and Aon, a leading global professional services firm providing a broad range of risk, retirement and health solutions. This joint venture provides HIAIS Insurance Services with the unique opportunity to leverage the buying power, insurance, governance and risk capability of Aon, as well as assessing the HIA and utilising their deep knowledge of the housing industry. Before we dive into domestic building insurance, I'd just like to share some other types of insurance that we are able to help you with your building business. They include contract works insurance, public liability insurance, cyber insurance, management liability insurance. There's a lot more that we can help you with, and you can always give us a call to have a deep discussion about it. So DBI insurance and objectives. DBI provides cover for homeowners who are building or renovating in Victoria. Builders are required to purchase DBI on behalf of the homeowner for all domestic building projects over $16,000. In Victoria, it is a legal requirement. The objectives: to ensure homeowners have the appropriate protections in place if the builder dies, disappears or becomes insolvent. It also provides confidence to the market, and it is also there to support a continued and successful building industry. DBI distributors. The Building and Plumbers Commission, known as the BPC and formerly known as the VMIA, is the state-owned and operated insurer of DBI insurance. The BPC have 4 appointed distributors, and HIAIS Insurance Services is one of them. At HIAIS Insurance, we will work with the builders to complete new and review eligibility applications for lodgement to the BPC. We will support your inquiries regarding the BPC, the application process and the certificate process. We have direct access to the BPC systems and underwriters, and we will assist with all project applications or certificates for lodgement to the BPC. How does it work? If you are a builder and want to get DBI through the BPC, you must be eligible. Eligibility outlines the terms of the approval to purchase DBI under certain conditions. It tells us the types of projects allowed to get insurance and the maximum value for each project type. If we follow the flowchart on the screen, you would apply for eligibility first, that is, complete an application form and provide all the relevant documentation. We would help you to submit that to the BPC, and they will review and provide a financial assessment. If approved, the BPC will approve your limits and assign them to you. They will then issue you with a pending letter of eligibility. You would use the pending letter of eligibility to complete your license registration so that you can obtain your DBU license or your builder's license. And if you're a company, your CDBU. Your DBU, which is the Domestic Building Unlimited License, or CDBU, Company Domestic Building License, is recorded, and you are then issued with a letter of eligibility. Once you have your letter of eligibility, you will have access to BuildVic and commence to purchase certificates for jobs that you have secured. Once eligibility has been assessed, the BPC will provide an outcome and generate the letter of eligibility. The letter of eligibility will include the builder details along with all your construction limits. There is a total construction limit and category limits. The total construction limit means the total construction value that you can use at any one point in time. The category limits reflect the type of build. If we look at the slide, on the bottom, you will see total construction limit of $3 million. This means that at any point in time, the builder can take limits up to $3 million. If we now look at the categories, in this example, there are 6 categories listed, and the builder can issue works on any of these categories. There is no need to have all the categories. You would only request the ones that you work within. The limits within the categories are the maximum, and therefore, in this example, if you were to take a certificate under CO1, new single dwelling construction, the maximum that you would be able to take out is $900,000, or works up to $900,000. That could mean 1 dwelling at $900,000 or 2 new dwellings at $450,000 each. Who is the BPC assessing? The applicant in the application form that we present to the BPC is the business that you choose to operate through. That is either a sole trader or partnership, where the individual obtains a DBU license as a registered building practitioner. And when they assess, it is the net worth. The net worth is represented by what is owed by the individual's personal name. If you choose to operate your business under company, the individual obtains a DBU and the company obtains a CDBU. And the company is treated as a person and has its own assets. This discussion on how you would choose to operate would be a discussion with your accountant. So what are they assessing? When applying for eligibility, the BPC will consider the financial health of the business, building history, that is the type of projects and value of projects, and project capability. This helps the BPC understand the risk of projects that have not been completed or been defective. They look for strong foundations, equity and profits. Is the business profitable? How is the business managing workflow? They look at availability of funds and equity to assist the business requirements. They assess the business and not the builder. If you have any DBI claims in the past, this will also impact eligibility applications with the BPC. It is always important to remember that you can be the best builder, but it's also very important to be a great business manager. In terms of the financial checks that they will do when looking at your application, they will look at the net tangible assets and turnover growth. They will look at shareholder funds and sales. They will look at profit margins, interest cover and cash flow, working capital, return on equity and assets, payment and collection cycles, and business structure and trading history. These are all items that will and may affect your application. When assessing, the BPC will assess based on new, review, or initiated reviews. If you are a new builder, it's a new eligibility, that means you're a new builder applying for new eligibility for the very first time. If it is a review eligibility, existing builders wanting to apply for an increase to overall limit and or category limits. If it is a review initiated by the BPC, this means that there has been a trigger and the BPC will want to conduct a review. Some of these situations include where a builder has referred a project they are wanting to undertake that exceeds their current limit. The builder has not undertaken a full review in the past 12 to 24 months. The builder's license has been suspended by the VBA. The BPC have been notified of ASIC or changes in directors, or the builder has an outstanding ATO debt. All of these are triggers and will initiate a review. When applying for eligibility, the BPC will require a completed application form and a checklist of information, which must be included with your application, or it is unable to be submitted to the BPC. The information that they will require is the application form, if you're a sole trader, full and final individual tax returns for the last 2 financial years, proof of ownership for properties that you may list in the application form, current bank statements for personal cash holdings and business or the company, work in progress Excel spreadsheet, and any future jobs to ensure. If you are a company, similar documentation is required, but they will look at the full and final company financials for the last 2 financial years for the company. Things to remember as a company, the working capital, what they will ask, what cash do you have in your business to support the business? The BPC will focus on bank accounts, credit facilities, overdraft, line of credit, and if funds are going to be transferred into the new entity, it is important to speak to a financial advisor about the possibility of a paid-up capital injection. They will look at equity held in the business. What does the business own? Property, land, vehicles, plant, machinery, as an example. And they will also look at the business revenue and profit margins. This obviously won't apply to a brand new business, but for existing business holding eligibility, BPC will access the profitability of the business by reviewing the net profit margins and the gross profit margins. The next few slides are just about the application form and how it must be completed. And the BPC treat it pretty much like a statutory declaration, so they don't want to see any errors or cross-outs on the application form. This is something that we will definitely help you with in terms of getting it right before submission to the BPC. We'll quickly go through each page of the application form. The first 2 pages that you see here are purely about the form and a self-checklist to ensure that you've included all the documents. The next couple of pages about the legal entity. If you are trading as an ABN, as a sole trader, it must be included and it must match exactly to your legal entity name. For example, if your legal entity name is John Smith Proprietary Limited, the BPC will want to see the full legal entity name and not just John Smith. Towards the end of these 2 pages, it refers to the taxation status for a sole trader. This is letting the BPC know if you are up to date with all your ATO obligations. This is very important as they don't look favourably at an ATO debt. If you have an ATO debt, you must provide an ATO payment plan and must be paid, and your payment plan must be up to date. The last item on these pages is about your taxation details, which the BPC will want all information about your accountant. If you are your own accountant as a sole trader, of course, you can add your own details. If you are a company on these pages, exactly the same, apart from that you now need to add an ABN and an ACN number. They will also ask you about not only your personal taxation status, but about the company taxation status. Your company application will be based on the company financials for the last 2 years, as already mentioned. The next couple of pages about the registered builder or the individual who is the registered builder. If we start from the top of this page, you must tick that you are the registered builder. The registration status lets the BPC know if you already have your DBU or you're proposing to get your registration. This page is more about the registered building practitioner and any additional partner in the business, or if it is a partnership. Same if it is a company, the information is about the RBP of the company. The registered building practitioner must also be a director of the company. If there are additional directors, this information must also be included for each director. Section 4 is about your history and background. For example, have you ever been involved in any business placed in external administration, liquidation, and receivership? It is important you provide as much information here if you have selected one or more of the yes answers to provide the BPC a better understanding of your history, and it will help them assess your application better and faster. If you have selected no and they undertake the assessment and discover that one or more of these questions should have been selected as a yes, they will come back requesting additional information, which will delay the assessment and eligibility process, and it may also impact the outcome of the assessment. This section here is about your limits and what construction limits you do require for your business. When deciding on these limits, it is important to ask yourself, what type of jobs do I intend on getting or quoting? What will my next 12 months look like in terms of quoting jobs? Will the jobs be new builds or custom jobs or smaller jobs? Think about your forecast of works and what is coming up in your pipeline for the next 12 months. What would be the maximum limit that you would need according to the pipeline? Important to remember, if an increase in limits is required later on, a full financial review will be required to be submitted to the BPC. In this example, the figure that is noted represents the total value of works you wish to undertake at any given time of $1 million. This means you're engaged in projects, you can engage in projects worth up to $1 million simultaneously. This figure is not a one-time limit. As one project is completed, its value is restored to your available construction limit, allowing you to continue to issue additional certificates of insurance and take on more projects. You also have the category values. There are 6 categories depending on your business, you can allocate required limits. This includes new build, structural or non-structural categories. You do not have to add all the categories. This would depend on your business and what your pipeline looks like for the next 12 months. Once approved, your new or review eligibility application has been approved. Your letter of eligibility will display all your limits, and it is what you use to renew your registration yearly. You are now ready to take on certificates of insurance. For every job over $16,000, as we mentioned, you will need to take out a certificate. Your building surveyor will require a copy, and the client will also receive a copy. Back to the application form. The next couple of pages are on the personal assets and liability. The BPC will take into account property and cash at bank. They normally do not take into account motor vehicles, shares, or crypto. As your distributor will conduct an initial review based on this page with a focus on property listed and cash at bank. 90 days of transactions are required to support cash at bank. The next 3 pages of the application form is the terms and conditions. These terms and conditions cannot be signed, but you must be read so that you understand them. The last page is a statutory declaration. It is seen as a statutory declaration, and the BPC require this page to be handwritten and completed with accuracy, with no errors, mistakes, or crossouts. Once we've completed the initial review and feel we have all the correct documentation to submit to the BPC, we will then ask you to complete the statutory declaration page. This page must be signed by an authorised witness, for example, police officer, pharmacist, or nurse. But there is a range of occupations that can be used as an authorised witness. In terms of the eligibility application process and how we help you manage this, HIAIS Insurance Services will look over the eligibility application form and the documents provided as per the checklist. We need to make sure that are sent and submitted to the BPC with accuracy. We will then lodge the application for you. All applications have to go through a distributor, so we will lodge that for you. We will provide you with an application number. It is important to note the BPC are currently taking up to 8 weeks to provide an outcome. At any time, they can request additional information. And it is important to remember that the BPC assess applications on a case-by-case basis. Once we have been notified by the BPC of the assessment of outcome, we will advise you. We're coming to the end of the presentation, and we'd just like to finish up with some of the more common questions we receive about applications and the eligibility process. The first thing is about the financial information. It is very important that all the tax returns are of the last 2 years. And if it's a company, the last 2 years, but they must all be signed and dated by all directors and accountants. The BPC will not accept any trading names, and as I mentioned previously, they must all refer to the legal entity name as per the ABN and the ACN number. If the company involves 1 or more directors, each director will need to complete their personal assets. Or documentation, we will indicate to you what documentation needs to be signed and dated, and they are very particular about this and must be submitted with all dates and signatures. The statutory declaration, as mentioned before, must be signed by an authorised witness. Notices of assessment instead of a tax return will not be accepted by the ATO. Bank transaction must be full bank transaction of the last 90 days for each account that you'd like to submit to the BPC. So we've come to the end of the presentation. I might just give you a few minutes to think about some questions you may have. And if you'd like to pop them into the chat, I'll be happy to answer them for you. Okay, there's no questions today. So if you do think of anything you'd like to ask us, please reach out to us. We have a specialised domestic building insurance warranty team within HIAIS Insurance. So we'd be more than happy to help you and talk to you about your individual situation. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. Just as a reminder, these DBI webinars are held every quarter, so you're welcome to join again. The next one will be in November, and we'll be sending out communication about this. Otherwise, if you have any questions or you'd like to have a chat about DBI eligibility process or even general insurance, you're welcome to contact our office, and we'll be able to connect with you with one of our friendly brokers to discuss. Thanks for your time, everyone.